Okay, I don't know if this story is getting enough attention or not when it comes to the war in Iran. There's so many moving pieces all at once. Um, I'm somebody who is horrified. Fascinated is not the right word, but it always interests me how it is that Donald Trump is the kind of malignant narcissist who adores other malignant narcissists and will like kind of bootlick for them or like sit at their feet, right? Remember during his first term where it was Kim Jong-un, he had like love letters that he kept, right? And that was part of the document scandal, is that was supposed to stay in the presidential archive, but he wanted to take them home. He's always like lavished praise on Vladimir Putin and on Bibi Netanyahu. He had Viktor Orban come over and speak at, I forget if it was CPAC or the Republican National Convention. Anyway, he had Viktor Orban come over and speak. The adoration of Putin and Bibi Netanyahu in particular has been so obvious, right? It's been, oh God, it's been really embarrassing, right? And Trump doesn't even see how embarrassing it is. He's like wanting to be one of the cool kids. Like, can I sit with you guys at lunch, right? Am I as bad of a dictator as you are? And I always thought, it would be more of a dick measuring contest where they're really trying to compete with each other and see who can be the most malignant and, have the most adoring and subservient population and who can do the most cruel, awful things and get away with it. And also who can amass the greatest amount of money and wealth. And right. So I thought they'd all be in competition, but Donald Trump has always seemed really to like be coddling them, to be kissing up to them, to be adoring them. And that's prompted a lot of speculation about, okay, well, first of all, they're not doing that to Donald Trump, right? They know, all three of these guys know, and also Xi Jinping. So it's, China, North Korea, Israel, and Russia. They all know that Donald Trump is not on the same level. They all find him just as cringy and embarrassing and like pathetic as we do. But he is always trying to curry favor. And I've always wondered, is that because he understands he's insecure and he wants to be seen as legit, or is there something else going on there? And, we had news, was it yesterday or the day before, that Israel tried to get Barack Obama to start a war in Iran multiple times. And he was like, no, I'm going to use diplomatic means, right? Like, I don't need your approval. I'm not going to do that. But Donald Trump would do anything that Bibi wants, right? He'll spend billions, and it's like billions of dollars a day that we're spending of our money to wage this war because Bibi wanted it. And also because of the Epstein files. Right, there's other secondary, tertiary gains that Trump gets. And is that wanting to be seen as a legitimate bad guy by the other bad guys enough of a motivation? Or is something else going on? And I know that a number of people said, well, malignant narcissists, they don't really have they don't have a personality. They don't have any core to them at all, right? It's just like a deep chasm, a black hole that they try and fill with cruelty and with money, always money. So the question is he profiting off of this? I know it's wild. You and I are like, but he's worth billions and billions. How is it that he's got an insatiable level of greed? Well, because at the core of him, there's nothing but emptiness. So then it's like, are Putin and Bibi, are they paying Donald Trump? Is that what's going on? I've always thought, maybe they've got dirt on him. I've always thought the reason he's so simpering and nice is because they've got dirt on him and he doesn't want them to reveal it. And now the more we're finding out about the Epstein files, I'm going to talk about that in the next video. The more we're finding out about the Epstein files, the more I think it's likely Mossad's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, the fact that Vladimir Putin is a real bad guy, a real, actually good at being a dictator, successful at being a dictator. I'm sure he's got dirt on Donald Trump. We've known for years and years and years that Trump is likely a Russian asset. I don't think that he would be one. I could just see a scenario in which Putin easily manipulates Donald Trump to have him over a barrel. And so when we look at this war in Iran, right, Putin doesn't want us to be successful. Putin's not our friend, right? Putin wants to conquer the United States. He wants to make the United States decrease, become less and less and less. Which, of course, is what MAGA is. Make America Great Again is a reactionary movement. It's taking us back to a time when we were less powerful, less successful. It is making us less as a country. It should be abundantly apparent to everybody now that Donald Trump is decreasing the power and influence of the United States, the wealth, the livability, the functionality of the United States on every single level. And that Bibi is just like, oh, fuck yeah, that's exactly what he wants. And that Putin is like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want, right? He would love to see the U.S. in considerable decline and the power of the Russian Empire rise and him to reclaim all of the former Soviet bloc countries. So it really shouldn't shock us to hear there's more and more reporting that Putin has been aiding Iran and revealing the positioning of American military, also perhaps supplying the Iranians with weapons, and that this war in Iran is going to be used in so many ways to the benefit of Putin and to the detriment of our ally Ukraine, who Donnie has thrown under the bus over and over and over again because Putin wanted him to, in the vain hope that Putin would ever be Donald Trump's buddy and help Donald Trump in any way. I guess Donald Trump doesn't see that he's getting used over and over, or again, Putin has dirt on him, and so he has to submit to being used, which of course, again, is going to make a narcissist full of rage, and I guess maybe he'll take that out on the American people or on Ukraine or what have you. And I haven't heard this talked about, I think, enough, which is the way that Russia is fucking using us for their own benefit, and it's hurting our friends in Ukraine, and it's going to hurt us a lot. It's going to cost us lives in our service members and maybe here at home. It's definitely going to fuck our economy real bad. And it's going to prolong the war in Ukraine significantly. I did hear Eamon speaking about it earlier today. He's one of the few people I've heard expounding pretty extensively on it.
All right, let me see if I can get this straight. The U.S. launches a war on Iran. Oil prices spike because refineries are being hit and shipping lanes are being shut down. And Washington scrambles to try to bring these same oil prices back down. And they're trying to think of ideas, and they come up with this amazing idea. Ironically, to calm the markets, the U.S. is now reportedly agreeing to allow Russia to sell more oil on the market, which means Russia, the same country that we have been opposing in the war in Ukraine for the past years, the country that we have sanctioned because of its war in Ukraine, is now allowed to pump more oil and to bring in more money into its war chest. I wonder what Russia's going to do with that money. I think, I could be wrong, but I think they may use it to continue the war in Ukraine.
That's correct.
And here's actually where it gets even more troubling. There is reporting to suggest that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran, and Iran is using that intelligence to target American assets and our allies in the region. So I just want you to think about this irony here for a moment. The U.S. launches a war against Iran. Oil prices go up. To try to stabilize the prices, the U.S. turns to Russia, which we oppose in the war in Ukraine, and says to them, you can start selling your oil again on the market to help drive the prices down for us and our consumers. You're allowed to make money off of it. That money you can use to fund your war in Ukraine against us. But at the same time, you are providing intelligence to the Iranians, which they are using to attack our assets in the region and our allies, which is driving the price of oil up, which makes us turn to the Russians to try to lower the prices. I don't know if the U.S. and Israel thought this through.
Yep, Eamon's absolutely right. That's exactly what's happening. I don't know that Donald Trump thought that through at all. We know that Pete Kegsbreath is too day drunk to understand how to run the Department of Defense. After all, you know, he's a Fox News host. What does he know about waging war? Fuck all. It's pretty clear that the only adult in the room is probably Vladimir Putin. Maybe a little bit Bibi, right? He's pretty good at pulling Donnie's strings. But in terms of in the United States, like nobody in the United States government knows what they're doing. They're getting played by Vladimir Putin. So we are all getting played by Vladimir Putin. We have the cringiest, most embarrassing, inept dictator. And to me, this really highlights the fact that Republicans are absolutely craven. They know, so many Republicans know that Donald Trump is just an absolute boob and that this is nonsensical, right? We're abandoning our ally in Ukraine. We're supporting our adversary, we're profiting our adversary, Vladimir Putin. This is a disastrous war politically for the Republicans and the entire country. Of course, Republicans have dropped all of their silly little song and dance from just a couple of days ago where they were like, no, it's not war. It's not war. That way they didn't have to vote to try and constrain Donald Trump. And now they're like, oh shit, we gave him a green light to do this, right? They said, we are actively choosing not to constrain him.
And we may have casualties. That often happens in war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
This isn't a war. We haven't declared war.
The Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war.
We set the terms of this war, from start to finish.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
War is hell, and always will be.
Strategic strikes are not war. 8 U.S. military fatalities associated with the war in Iran. How many American deaths are you willing to have in this war?
Well, as I said before, when you have conflicts like this, you always have death. And I was at Dover yesterday. I met the parents, and they were unbelievable people. They were unbelievable people, but they all had one thing in common. They said to me one thing, every single one: finish the job, sir. Please finish the job. And I'll leave you at that.
Right, let's be clear here. Republicans are fully in support of what Donald Trump is doing and the way he's fucking shit up real bad. And we cannot forget that fact. We have to remember he is not doing this by himself. Congress could have constrained him. They could have stopped him dozens of times over. And Republicans are choosing not to. This has to come back on them. We have a demented, pathetic narcissist in the White House getting played by Putin because Republicans are allowing it.
Also, we gave India special permission to buy Russian oil, which, I don't know. Scott Besson, they used to, India's getting killed because they decided to buy from other people for us in order to cut the trade deal. So they're going to be allowed to bring Russian oil into the Indian refineries.
Just temporarily?
Temporarily, until we can get that straight open.
This war is the Republicans' war.